Hello again. This video is about calibrating the BMSs in each one of these batteries. We've replaced the firmware, it got rid of the false 63 errors. The system's been pretty reliable, except the batteries have been discharging unequally, and everything worked great as long as the batteries were 50% or above, but a lot of them started going down really quickly. Sungold said that I need to recalibrate the BMSs for the batteries. I did some reading, and it turns out this is a problem with lithium ion packs. There's a whole, forum and YouTube channel and multiple YouTube channels on balancing and keeping your Tesla car batteries balanced. These are getting to the point where not only would they, discharge at different rates, but certain, the batteries would error because it had a low cell voltage. You'd have, maybe it should be, maybe a few milliamps difference between cells. This might have a volt difference, and we're only at 30% charge. Okay, well, I have a bad battery, but turns out that no, it's just a part of maintenance to these things. Sungold says you really should balance them, calibrate them, whatever, every quarter. So I bought some test equipment and did some research on how to do that, and I want to share how I'm doing it at this point. There's balancing and calibrating are two different things. Balancing is getting all the cells, or 16 cells in each one of these, getting them each, so they're within a few millivolts of each other. And there's a lot of documentation on how to do that. I actually went to AI, found it to be quite helpful, and it took me to different forums and different videos and stuff to on how to do that. Calibrating the BMS is a little bit different. What it does is teaches the BMSs, hey, this is how much capacity I have, and also it teaches it which cell it needs to put the most current to, and that kind of thing. The 16 cells in here, they're never exactly the same. It's not a perfect system. There are resistors and stuff in there to kind of manage all that. Way more complicated than anything I understand. But anyway, to calibrate the BMS, which also will back up here. Another thing too, this battery was working okay. This is the one I bought after Trump's tariffs or just before Trump's tariffs kicked in. I had an extra space up here, and everyone told me that, yeah, you can never have enough battery, so I bought another one. Sungold was running a sale. These are the 5 that came with the kit. Okay, this one's working pretty good. These not so much, which again would indicate, what everyone says about these batteries. Over time, they need to be recalibrated. So I'm going to recalibrate these. The process of recalibration also balances the cells. Okay, what Sungold said to do is to disconnect the datacom. This is the RS485 cable that goes to the controller. It said to charge the batteries at 58.4 volts, and that's pretty standard if you're everything I read, whether you're balancing the internal cells or calibrating the BMS. Everyone, 58.4 seems to be pretty industry standard for a so-called 48 volt pack. And then they said to charge it at 58.4 volts until the BMS shuts it off. I looked into buying an external charger. They have like chargers for golf cart batteries that run at 58.4 and will shut off when it gets to the right place. I don't know, but I just wanted the simplest thing I get, and preferably not have to spend another $120 or what to get another charger that may or may not work, right? So what I did, I took if you watched my solar video on installing all this, that big long video, I mentioned that I wanted to probably put it on user-defined battery because it was just hard setting all the parameters and stuff I needed to do. So the first thing I did, I printed this. This is out from the manual. It's paid. Well, your manual's probably different. I'll post a copy of this in the video with that you can pause and read, and I'll find me on Facebook, and I can send it to you. But here is the user settings for the lithium-ion battery. So this is the L16 that we have, 16 cells. So I just took and I put these numbers here. These are the setup parameters in the charger. So I just copied all them over to here. If you're finding this helpful, please like and subscribe if you're interested in our cabin project here. We appreciate it. Okay, so when you're setting up the user battery type to match these parameters right here, it's important that you pull the data communications cable first. If you don't do that, some of the settings, you have to change the boost charge and floating charge voltage to 58.4. It'll change it, but you navigate away and come back, it'll be back to whatever the default was, which I guess is okay for normal operation, but for calibrating, you need to have it at 58.4 volts. And the only way it'll let you do it is to pull this data cable. Apparently the BMSs override some of the settings that you set from the panel. Okay, to balance or to calibrate this, what I had to do then, I had changed the boost charge voltage and the floating charge voltage to 58.4. What this does, the charger has in lead acid and gel and all that kind of need this. It'll give it more power, more voltage at first, and then after a 2-hour time limit, it'll take and lower the voltage to kind of extend battery life or that kind of thing. But it's a feature you don't really need for lithium ion, so the boost and the floating voltage, set them the same, you essentially get rid of the boost feature. Okay, so as the thing charges, the top LED over here flashes, and you can keep an eye on the state of charge. Go into the menu. So it's analog info. You press enter. You go down to cell capacity. Press the button again. Oops, no. Try it again. Okay, so analog info, enter. Then you go down to the next page. You get cell capacity, and there it gives you your state of charge. It's a cloudy day out and we've been running the heater, and I'm not actually calibrating it now, but that just shows you where it is. So the state of charge will get to 100%, and this will continue to flash for maybe an hour or two afterwards, setting the as it calibrates. So when it finishes calibrating, that sixth LED will stop flashing, and you can see if you keep an eye on the current. So you can see here I have the voltage, and then I have, and this is the clamp meter, and yes, it does do DC. Thing wasn't that expensive. I think it was about $45. And a few years ago, you couldn't, AC clamp meters are common, but I was very happy to get this at something that didn't quite break the banks. I'll put links to all of this stuff in the description too on my voltmeter, but you don't need that to do this. You can either keep an eye on the current right here, go to page 2. Come on. Hello. Okay, go to page 2. It'll give you the amperage that the battery is drawing. That 31 amps right there is what the mini split's pulling at the moment. But you can also get the current information, you come right here, and on the menu, go to analog info, and IM is the amount of current. So right now it's pulling six amps from it to run the mini split. As the if you're calibrating it, that'll be a positive number. It might be 60, it might be 20 amps, but it'll start dropping after this last LED stops flashing and your state of charge is at 100%. And that'll go back to, almost nothing when it gets done. You'd probably be okay just waiting till the LEDs stop flashing, but I like to let it go until that current stops dropping. And it's nice to have the meters just to keep an eye on everything. But they're not necessary, okay? Okay, so we have our first battery calibrated, I believe. The voltage is 58.3, this 58.4 or 5 there. Notice that we're putting no current into the battery. It went from 20 amps, just started going down within a matter of a few minutes. And it probably took an hour all told to do that one. So another thing you can do too here, if you don't have the amp meter, just go to page 2, 0 amps, okay? By the way, the 58 error is because the datacom cable is unplugged, okay? So what I will do now, I will kill this battery. Okay, I'm going to click the... All the lights are lit up here, so I don't know if it's going to continue to charge or not, but I'll go ahead and cut this back on. Okay, the fan in the inverter starts up. Putting 20 amps into it again. This confirms that. And notice even though it was, all bars are lit up, now that's flashing. So let that go. If I remember and observed everything correctly from this last battery, it'll flash for a while and then the current will start dropping and finally we'll get no current at all. So I'm going to go ahead and just power this battery down, the one that's already been calibrated, just so it's not wearing on itself. And we can start the evening with at least one full battery. Okay, so we balanced all the batteries. They've been pretty much charging and discharging at the same rate. Still have problems. Some of the batteries are the cells aren't staying even. One cell that's substantially lower voltage than the other when it gets down to around 50% or so. So I'm dealing with Sungold on that. I think they're just, they have like a 10-year warranty or something, so it should be no trouble getting replaced. I looked into exactly what calibrating and balancing does, and this is, again, from AI, and I didn't check all the sources on that. But, calibrating, you can either discharge it. You can charge it at 58.4 volts, and it will, figure out what the, battery capacity is. You can also discharge the battery until the BMS shuts it off. So that's the calibrating, just kind of lets the BMS know what kind of capacity you have in here. These BMSs do top balancing. So what happens, you have 16 cells in there. There are supposed to be 3.65 volts maximum. So what happens is that one cell gets to 3.65 volts. Well, it has to stop charging. It would damage that one cell. But instead what it does, the BMS takes a resistor and bleeds some current out of that battery that's a 3.65, so the rest of them can come up. So it kind of does that. And I don't think you need to do the calibrating to do that. I'll have to watch it sometime. But it seems like, a lot of times it'll be at 100% just from normal charging and the light will still be flashing, letting you know that it's still doing something with itself. So that's
That's what I know about it at this point. I don't know how accurate that is, so take it with a grain of salt. And just gotten questions about the capacity and capability of the system. If it wasn't for heat and air, it doesn't matter. You look outside and, you know, it's an overcast day, it's still charging. There's been more than enough power to make hot water and everything else. It's like 75 outside. So we ran the inverter on heat pump mode, and it pulls like 350 watts. And, you know, so left the doors open and the windows open, left the fans on to keep the cold air blown away from here, keep the warm air circulating toward the hot, toward the water heater. And it ran, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours maybe, but it, you know, finally shut off. Very little electricity to get 45 gallons of hot water. Now when the sun is out and the batteries are fully charged, it's just power going to waste. So what I'll do, I'll turn on the heat strip, the heat elements, and it will run for, I don't know, maybe hour and a half until the thing shuts off. So that gets you hot water really fast and saves on wear and tear on the compressor. So it's actually nice that it is a hybrid unit that will allow you to heat either way. I've been using both modes. All right, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe if you're interested in our project, and we thank you. So just an update on battery calibration. There was some question about the state of charge when you start the process. I confirmed with Sungold that it doesn't matter. You can just go ahead and let the batteries be charged and then go ahead and do the calibration routine. I think I still like it to, you know, charge a little bit before it does that, just so everything doesn't happen so fast. You can see that, yeah, it's charging, then it goes over into the 100% state and still continues to do whatever it does with itself. Okay, the other thing that I confirmed is that a new battery should be calibrated when you get it. So the way that came about, turns out I have a bad battery from the factory from my original order. Sungold is sending me a new one, no hassle with the warranty replacement. But she did say to go ahead and calibrate that new battery. So if you have any questions, post below. If you have any done this yourself, I'd be curious to hear your experiences. And thank you very much for watching.